Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight for our free webinar, How Hemp CBD Products Changed My Practice, featuring Clare O'Nan. My name is Jeff Bloom, Education Marketing Coordinator here at L.A.C. OMS. For over 40 years, L.A.C. OMS has been striving to promote the growth of the acupuncture industry by providing quality products, great prices, and the best customer service, as well as supporting the many schools and continuing education efforts available. With our free webinar series, we intend to provide free educational opportunities taught by some of our industry's most renowned practitioners and educators. I would like to take a moment to acclimate you to the webinar room. We recommend viewing the webinar in Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, as you can experience slowness in other browsers. To the right of the video screen, you will see 3 tabs: Chat, Questions, and Polls. To chat with other attendees or to communicate any technical difficulties, please use the Chat tab. For questions, please use the Questions tab. We'd like to assure that our guest speaker answers the questions at the end of the lecture. Please note that each webinar is recorded, and immediately following the conclusion of the webinar, you will receive an email with a link to view the video on demand. We will also show a recording with the slides and any other complimentary material in the following week or 2 on our blog. You may always visit our blog and use the free webinar tag to find all of our previously recorded events. From sports acupuncture to CBD to practice management, you will find something interesting for every practitioner on the L.A.C. OMS blog. Now for our featured speaker, we are proud to introduce Clare O'Nan. Clare has been practicing acupuncture since 2002 and has worked in Washington, Colorado, Israel, and now currently in Mississippi. Her experiences include private practice and hospital work, as well as work in medical clinics and community clinics. She has also done volunteer work in jails and addiction centers in both the United States and Israel. In Israel, she helped to establish the first nonprofit acupuncture clinic for treatment of heroin addiction. Clare is now co-owner and founder of Thrive Health Acupuncture in Starkville, Mississippi since 2012, and serves both local community members and patients from Louisiana, Alabama, and Tennessee. Clare has been instrumental in forging a path for the CBD industry in northern Mississippi. She is extremely passionate and educated about CBD and has taught many community leaders and medical practitioners about the medicinal use of the plant. Her clinic leads the market in Mississippi in terms of sales, primarily because of the education they offer their clients. With every single purchase, Clare is particularly interested in how acupuncture and CBD work together to promote a healthy endocannabinoid system, and has noted remarkable effects among her patient population when combining the two. Clare and her wife Megan also run Southern Hemp Distributors, Inc., Mississippi's first hemp CBD-specific distributorship, which focuses primarily on educating medical and healthcare markets. Their approach to marketing has been unique and effective. No new client is accepted until they have undergone extensive training in CBD. This approach has allowed Southern Hemp Distributors to gain and maintain a reputation for excellence in education in the industry, both locally and regionally, and has caused an organic growth that is unprecedented in the region. Please join me in welcoming Clare.
Thanks, Jay. I'm really excited to be here because I am passionate about acupuncture and I'm also passionate about hemp. And so I hope that everything I have to say is really helpful for all of you and answer a lot of your questions. So I'm going to kind of fly through this the PowerPoint because I really want to the Q&A. That's always the fun part, and it's the part that's most helpful for everyone. If you have questions along the way, please ask them, and if they're pertinent enough to interrupt me, Jeffrey will. Otherwise, we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So a brief outline, and you guys have all seen this on the email, I think, is we're going to go over why I decided to incorporate hemp into my practice, how it's helped both my patient outcomes and practice health. And then we're going to talk about how to incorporate hemp oil into your treatments, different dosing protocols, and also how to help kind of improve your practice and your bottom line with it. We'll go over some frequently asked questions and hopefully have a lot of time for Q&A. I do tend to talk fast when I'm excited, so if I'm talking too fast, just tell Jeffrey to slow me down. What we aren't going to cover, but what you should definitely know, about is how hemp works on the endocannabinoid system and how acupuncture works on the endocannabinoid system and how they work systemically, and then also hemp from a TCM perspective. So this presentation really is more about practice management and how to incorporate hemp into your actual treatment and your practice. I have a master's in acupuncture. I didn't study herbs in depth, so I do prescribe patent herbs, but if you are an herbalist, don't expect me to be diving deep into that because I'm not going to. The flip side of that, though, is that if you aren't an herbalist, there's no need to feel like you can't comfortably prescribe hemp for your patients and understand how it can help them and your treatments. So I want to just get a few things out of the way first. Why the quotation marks? I don't know if you noticed back here, I have quotations, number 1 around CBD and number 4 around dosing. And that's because there's so many questions around the legalities and legislation around CBD right now. A lot of blurred lines, as you all know, where most of the questions arise. GW Pharmaceuticals, they came out with the drug Epidiolex, and from what I understand, technically they have rights to the term CBD because they've developed a drug from it. So the best thing right now is for everybody to use hemp more than CBD. From what I understand, they could choose to sue anyone selling or advertising CBD. So we in our practice don't even talk about CBD. We talk about hemp oil, and we try and educate our patients and the general public about that as well. And then in terms of dosing, you want to be really careful with that too, because hemp is a supplement, and once you start to use the word dose, it now becomes a medication. And we actually really don't want hemp to become a medication because it will get out of our hands probably. So in this presentation, I may slip up and say CBD and dosing, but when you're talking to your patients, it's better not to. So why did I decide to incorporate hemp oil into my practice? I have a nice, busy little practice in Mississippi. We opened in 2012, and around 2014, when the Farm Act came out, making the first round of hemp legal, my patients started asking me if I was going to prescribe CBD, and I kept kind of putting it off because I knew that I didn't know nearly enough about it, and I knew there was a whole bunch to learn that I didn't have time for. I didn't understand how it was produced. I didn't know how to tell a quality hemp oil from one that wasn't quality. I didn't know how to prescribe it, so I kept saying no. And then in early 2016, I was visiting my brother in Colorado. He's a functional medicine doctor. And he had mentioned CBD to me a few times, and we were sitting having breakfast, and I noticed a bottle of CBD on his counter. So we got to talking, and what came of that was 2 or 3 days of a lot of talking about CBD from a medical perspective and a functional medicine perspective. And I really got a deep dive into CBD and how it works. He introduced me to his rep, Christy, who has now become a good friend of mine. Followed her to different companies. She's wonderful and has taught me so much. In fact, I think in my first week, I probably sent her 100 emails. So I really kind of dove deep into learning about it. We made our first order of CBD, and it was $500 at the beginning of March, and by the end of April we were ordering 3,000. So that gives you just a little insight into what happens to practice with this. But before we did this, we did due diligence because we're in Mississippi, and I probably don't need to tell all of you that there's some stereotypes about places that aren't true, and there's some that are true. But most people here at the time thought CBD was illegal, and so we contacted the local narcotics department. We contacted 2 attorneys, and we just really made sure that the ground was laid. And then we started educating. And this was my goal from the start because I saw the opportunity to be a leader in the field, in the area. And so I started educating myself, and I started educating the general public, holding talks about it, and just really trying to get out there. So that's why I decided to, basically my patients asked me, and the timing was finally right, and I did it. So before I go into specific outcomes, we started selling the CBD. We have a little storefront where people can come in and buy, their essential oils or whatever. And so initially we started selling the CBD just to people walking in. We hung a shingle out, which was kind of scary because we knew that we might get put in handcuffs any day. It didn't happen. And people started walking in. We really didn't know that much. We weren't confident enough about dosing at the beginning because we didn't have any history or experience with it. So we were kind of conservative with our recommendations, but people would inevitably come back. Probably, I would say 70 to 80% of people would come back the very next day and say, I need a bottle of this for my mom. I need it for my cousin. So word got out. And people would also come back with their stories. And the stories we heard were phenomenal stories. I mean, stories that you hear in your acupuncture practice, people who had pain their whole lives and it just suddenly went away or decreased. And over a period of weeks, I started thinking, these stories sound a lot like acupuncture stories, because people would come in and say, I've been taking this for, my back pain, and suddenly my sleep's better and I'm not reacting to everything. So I thought, well, maybe acupuncture is also working on the endocannabinoid system. So I did a little research, and sure enough, that's what they're finding now. And so it wasn't until then that I really felt more confident to start incorporating hemp into my actual treatments with my patients, because up until then we were just kind of selling it. And once I started doing that, our patient outcomes just exploded, because they work so synergistically together that the people experienced much more rapid effect and longer sustainability of their effects. So they were being discharged for specific conditions sooner, and it was longer before I ever saw them again, which you could say that's not good for a practice, but my goal in a practice is for a patient not to need me that often, and that they'll go and tell other people about me. So this kind of covers everything what I've just written here, and that's because I didn't want to list specific Western diagnoses, because we're not supposed to do that. But most people are drawn to CBD initially because they've heard that it helps pain, and it does, especially in the area where we are, and I'll get to that later, because different geographical areas, people have different responses to CBD and hemp. But CBD can be used for all kinds of pain, both acute and chronic, musculoskeletal headaches, migraines, digestive pain, menstrual pain, skin pain, any pain, emotional pain even. Women's health, we've had extremely good results for menopausal symptoms. Great, we've had a lot of people with PCOS have great results, especially combining the hemp and the acupuncture. PMS, just, all the things that acupuncture addresses, but just faster and more profound effects. And then skin conditions, hemp is amazing for skin, and that's not just the topical. People taking it internally. We've had people talk about lesions that they've had, like fungi. That we had one lady come in with, she bought the CBD for insomnia. She had had a fungus on her toenail since birth that no dermatologist had ever figured out. And she, after 2 weeks of taking the CBD, it had disappeared and stayed away. And we hear stories like that all the time with skin stuff. We've had people, their psoriasis improved, people's eczema improved. It's great for burns. It's great for itching. It's great for shingles, for bites. So we've heard stories with a lot of skin stuff. Digestive stuff, especially IBS, especially anything stress related. And also kind of related to that is diabetes. We've had quite a few patients go off metformin. Their A1Cs have dropped significantly. We've had a few people have their doctors declare them non-diabetic. I don't think we've had anyone go off insulin, but specific products have had a remarkable impact on people's A1Cs. And then insomnia across the board, insomnia and stress are pretty predictable that the hemp will make a really big difference. Some more patient outcomes. These are more kind of psycho-emotional, anxiety anxiety, it's just amazing for, I think in the period I've been using hemp in the clinic, I've only had 2 patients with anxiety that weren't able to be helped with it. And for lack of a better way to say it, my feeling about those 2 patients were they were a little attached to their anxiety because nothing was helping acupuncture. I didn't touch it. So apart from those 2, just remarkable effects on anxiety and profound. It's, you know, it's within minutes it calms you down. And then it has these sustained effects, just wonderful. The depression, I've had a little less. Depression is just a harder one. I've kind of had sporadic results with that. But a lot of people do tell that they go off their antidepressants with it. So we definitely recommend people trying it. PTSD, it's amazing for. Addictions, it's amazing for. Background in addictions. And one example, soon after we started prescribing hemp, I had a patient come, referred by a counselor, a therapist. She was a severe alcoholic, and she didn't want to go to treatment. And her therapist told her she would only agree to that if she would come and do acupuncture. And so she came to acupuncture, and I recommended hemp. And with the therapist, you know, we discussed it together. She quit cold turkey, and she had been drinking a 1/5 of vodka every single day. She quit cold turkey, doing acupuncture daily and her counseling and taking hemp. And she came to see me for a period of 5 to 6 months. She never had any withdrawals. It was just incredible. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. She just quit cold turkey. And obviously she had a lifetime hit, well, not a lifetime, it was like a 30-year history of alcoholism, and had quit before. So this was really remarkable. And we've seen similar things, especially with alcohol and also with cigarettes. Other things is that it really improves patients' outlooks because they are getting rapid results, which sounds so cliche, but it's really important when a patient's in pain, they want the rapid result. We can laugh that that's Western and that, you know, it's about the big picture, but it's really helpful for patients when they get a quick result. It builds trust with you, and so that increases patient compliance, and then that increases patients returning and more patients coming in, and that increases your bottom line. So that kind of leads me into how it's improved my practice health. Obviously, it's increased our revenue. I'll just say, I said that when we first started, you know, we started with a $500 order, and within 2 months we were ordering 3,000. We started in 2016. Last year, I cut way back on my acupuncture time. Hemp has enabled me to do that. We have a baby at home, and it was really me to be able to cut down to part-time. So in a part-time practice last year, in our little town in Mississippi, me working 20 to 25 hours a week, single practitioner, we grossed $300,000 last year, which I think is pretty good. And it continues to increase. So that's amazing. For me, truly, the biggest benefit is just seeing happy patients. And I was used to seeing happy patients, but now, I mean, I see happy patients and happy customers, and it's very, very, very rewarding. Other thing I've mentioned before, it increases word of mouth and the new patients from that. There's different ways that happens. We get new patients because our current patients that are doing hemp and acupuncture, they're very happy, and so they're talking more, and so we get more patients that way. We also get more patients because word of mouth just about hemp, people walking in off the street to ask questions, then we'll talk to them about acupuncture. They will end up being a patient. And then also, yesterday I saw a new patient who at work, she had a migraine and she had forgotten her meds at home, and a coworker had some CBD that she had bought from us, so she gave her that, and she said it took her migraine away, and she was sold. So she called and made an appointment, and nobody had even mentioned acupuncture. So there's many ways that this is increasing our patient load, which is wonderful. And then it's been really important to us to build our reputation as experts. So every patient who walks in, and this is what I will recommend for all of you too, because there's we live in a kind of, it's not really rural, but there's not, I'm the only acupuncturist for 2 hours around me, and I'm really at this point only the only hemp expert. There's other people selling hemp now, but in big cities, you know, a lot of people are selling hemp, and there's more competition. So it's really important to put yourself as an expert, and you don't have to go and you know, give lectures and do handouts and stuff. What you can do is just educate your patients really well, educate yourself really well. So when patients come in, we talk to them about the differences of different kinds of CBD, different extraction methods. We talk about why it's important that it's organic, difference between isolates and extractions and lipid infusion. We talk to them about how it's important to take it regularly. We talk about the endocannabinoid system, what it's doing in their body, and then about their specific situation and how we can help them. So every person who leaves our clinic, our goal is that they leave understanding a little bit more about hemp, because our goal is not just to make ourselves experts so that we'll build our business, but it's really important that people are taking quality hemp, because hemp is a soil remediator, which means it's pulling toxins out of the soil. You can do a lot of damage if you're taking something that's not high quality. And so it's kind of our mission too, is to just educate as many people on that as possible. So we do have, and this is pertinent to those of you living in highly populated areas with a lot of competition, it's important to people will walk in and say they take CBD. So ask them what, oh, that's great. How's it working for you? What CBD are you taking? And then look up the company. Oftentimes it's a great company, and tell them, oh, that's a wonderful company. This is why. It's organic. They're giving you certificates of analysis. You just tell the patient why it's a great company, encourage them to continue taking it. If they're having good results. If they're not, then make your recommendation. But what this does is it builds patient trust, and then people will come back to you. So it's not all about, you know, bringing clients to you. It's about giving people what's best for them. So treatment suggestions for how to actually incorporate it into your treatments and into your clinic space. We've talked about educating your patient. It is really important to explain to them why hemp is different from medication. And as acupuncturists, we understand this because of herbs. That it's first off, the side effects. If herbs are prescribed right, you're not going to get a ton of side effects. That it's working with your body rather than telling it what to do, and that it's not something that is going to be needed long term. And I often use the I kind of compare it to vitamin C. That you take vitamin C here and there. Some people take it every day. Some people take it here and there. But then when you get sick, you take a lot. And so initially, you're going to need a lot of hemp to repair your endocannabinoid system. But then you shouldn't need to, after that, to take it as much. And then we talk about the synergistic effect. And then talk about the importance of regularity of use. This is really, really important because at the beginning, the hemp is doing a lot of internal repair work. And so it's important to keep it in your system, and you just explain that to your patient and why, and that eventually that's not going to be the case for them. Incidentally, it's really interesting that depending on where you are, in the country and the pollution that you live in and the education level of the average person in your area, people have different results in terms of how long they need to stay on it. So for the most part, down here in Mississippi, we get the luxury of having Roundup in our air droplets. So we're all breathing that. And then we have horrific diets and chemical plants all over the place. So we've got a lot going against us. And so typically what I see is it takes about twice as long for the average person to be able to cut back on their hemp. So where in other parts of the country it will take months, it takes the average person about 6 months. So if you do live near a chemical plant, or if you live in an area that's got, excessive pollution or just horrible diets, it may be that it'll take them a little longer. I want to talk about milligrams. This is really, really important to explain to your patients. And all of this, again, this is educating you so that you can educate your patients so that this will improve things for you and your practice too. The milligram content of hemp is really useless for the most part because there isn't regulation across the board. And so what does that mean? First, if you have one product from one company that's 15 milligrams and a product from another company that's 15 milligrams, that it doesn't mean that you're going to have the same effect. Why? Because the first company might be using isolates and the second company might be using extraction. So that's going to change the potency of the dose. Or they might both be using extraction, but one's using high heat and alcohol and the other's not. And so that changes it. Or one's doing extraction and the other's doing infusion, so that will change it. Or you can have the same exact company and you can have the same product, and 2 years later, because most CBD companies lease out their farms, they've suddenly switched to a different farm, and so now their product, even though it's the same product, it's different. So it's really not helpful when people come in and they say, oh, yours is only 15 milligrams per serving, but I was taking 200 milligrams. It doesn't mean anything. And so it's important to explain that to your patients. And the bottom line, which is really frustrating and acknowledged, it's just really frustrating that this is the case, but ultimately you just have to really trust that who you're buying from it is educated and that they can make a good recommendation for you. So the other thing to explain to people is what's written on the bottle is the total milligram content of the bottle, which is pretty useless information. So you can have a 1,000 milligram bottle and a 500 milligram bottle, and it says nothing about the dose, the individual dose. So what you want is to look at the back of the bottle and see how much CBD is in the actual dose. Again, even that's still not that helpful. Some of them, and functional remedies, because I'm representing functional remedies tonight, functional remedies on the back, it will say amount of hemp per serving, and people will look at it and say, well, where's the CBD? The CBD is in the hemp. Functional remedies is proactive and not using CBD in their terminology. In fact, they might be the one company that doesn't get sued if GW Pharmaceuticals ever decides to sue. So you just tell them that that's what that's about. And then explaining the difference between capsules and tinctures and topicals. Topicals, those are only locals, so it doesn't have a systemic effect, although I think that research is changing around that, but I think the jury's still out. One thing about topicals is THC is not transferred through the skin, and so that's important to some people. Tinctures I like to start people on because they can titrate up in smaller increments. A lot of people prefer capsules to tinctures or tinctures to capsules. It's kind of individual. Some people like to switch them up now and then. That's kind of what I do. It's really individual. And then of course there's other forms. There's the gummies and the chocolates and caramels and vapes and all that stuff too. So Remedies has capsules, tinctures, and topicals. And the capsules for functional remedies are enteric coated, which is really nice because some people get digestive upset with the swallowing the CBD. These are protocols, and you guys will all have copies of these slides. And I'm not going to go through these except to tell you that they are adapted from protocol guidelines by Dr. Blair. Dr. Blair is the medical director for Elixinol, which we also sell Elixinol in our clinic. He does some wonderful educational videos. If you go to YouTube and look him up, his little webinars are about 20 minutes and they're chock full of great information and good resources. So look him up. But these are adapted from his protocols. And what I mean by adapted is functional remedies tends to be more potent than a lot of the other CBD companies. And so I've adapted his numbers to fit functional remedies. So if you're going to use these as protocols, just know that these numbers are adapted to functional remedies, hemp oil. So I'm actually not even going to, I don't even know where we are on time. We're half an hour in, so that's great because I do want to leave some time for questions. One thing I do want to say about these milligram amounts, some of these you'll see really, really high, like for cancer and cardiovascular cancer especially. I don't start people that high, except I'll them on BID dosing, and the nighttime dose I will do a higher dose because it tends to have a drowsy effect at high doses, but I don't recommend it in the morning. I really have them titrate up. So take the word target pretty seriously there. And then Lyme, by the way, people are having phenomenal effects, especially with functional remedies. They're doing some studies on that, and it's really, really cool. Fibromyalgia, he targets high. I've not found that it needs to be this high. What I recommend for all of you, if you're starting, just start them on the dose recommendation on the bottle. Actually, having said that, I think Functional Remedies recommends once a day. I always start people twice a day. Just start them at the recommended starting point and have them titrate up every few days based on symptom response. And then, then it could be that you're going to be targeting this high. I have yet to have a fibromyalgia patient who's taking that much hemp. I do have Lyme patients that are taking that much. For the brain, where was it? These are pretty low dose, and the reason for that is that you're talking about dementia and Alzheimer's. We're generally talking about the elderly, and they tend to be more sensitive. And so if you do have TBIs or something, someone much younger, you don't need to stick to such a low dose. You could just start at a normal amount. So I'm going to whiz through these. This little star here, I already covered this about the geographical area. He says, 8 weeks maintenance. This I would pump that up. So for anyone coming to me, I wouldn't go to maintenance for 3 months probably. So I want to talk about functional remedies. In our clinic, we sell quite a few different brands, and also in our distributorship. Functional Remedies is by far our best seller, and this is why. So we actually just brought Functional Remedies on last year, and once I talked to Christy, I really started to understand what sets them apart. I was really excited to offer it because this, to me, is the most in line with Chinese medicine out of all the other companies. First, they're vertically integrated from seed to bottle. What that means is they own their own farms, and so they have complete control of every single step of the process, from growing the plant all the way through to the bottle itself. They do every single part of it except for the third-party testing. I don't believe there's another company that can claim this. And so what that gives you is an incredibly consistent product all the time. I've noticed with the other companies that we have, they aren't consistent because they do change farms, like I mentioned, and that can be really frustrating for customers. So this is just really cool that Functional Remedies just has a brilliantly consistent product. What that amounts to is so number 4 should be number 2. They have a proprietary lipid infusion process. I think there are only 2 other companies that offer this, and they aren't mainstream companies. They're not big. What is the proprietary lipid infusion? It's basically, it's lipid infusion. You guys understand the infusion process because of herbs and herbal infusions, but basically they're steeping it like a tea. So what that results in is a phytonutrient-rich, full-spectrum oil. It's a full plant oil. It's not, so the term full spectrum, a lot of companies use it, and I think it's very, very misleading. A lot of the other companies, even with really good extraction methods, you can only extract what you know is there. When you're infusing, you're getting the full benefit of the plant in the proportions that nature intended. And this, to me, is so much more in line with TCM. My gut has told me from the beginning, isolates, obviously, we don't, that isolates, it might as well be a drug. But also extractions too. I kind of wonder about extractions because you are messing a little bit with the plant itself and what it's intended for in the body. Purity Genetics, they've owned their own genetics for over 20 years, and they just have a very, very, very high quality product. So Remedies is by far our best seller. And then, okay, so now I just want to go over I'm just checking the time, some frequently asked questions. What makes a hemp oil high quality? Some of you, I hope, already know all of this, but I just want to go through these points because they're pretty important. High quality, first, it has to be organic or sustainably produced. As I mentioned before, hemp is a soil remediator. So if it's not organic, it's pulling all the toxins out of the soil. It's really important that whatever CBD or hemp oil you're selling, that company provides you with certificates of analysis, which means they've gone through lab testing and it delineates everything in there, not just the ratios of CBD and THC and all that, but also that it's been tested for heavy metals and pesticides and microbes and all that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the form of it is that it's not an isolate, because isolates, like I said, they might as well just be a drug. The third is that if it's extracted, they use a quality extraction method. So we don't want high heat or alcohol used because that damages the molecule itself. And so the best extraction method is supercritical CO2 extraction. So you want to be sure that you're at least it's that. And then I think the highest quality is the lipid infusion, which is functional remedies, because that just gives you the full benefit of the plant. Can you fail a drug test with hemp oil? Yes, you can. And we are, I really encourage you, don't beat around the bush patient on this, because it will come back to bite you. It's not as rare as it used to be, and I don't really know. I think that might be because more and more people are taking CBD and hemp now. Incidentally, another reason that it's better to say hemp than CBD is because CBD can also come from marijuana. So if you're in a state where marijuana is illegal, it's just better to say hemp. So the reasons for failing a drug test, there's a few. One is that a lot of the drug tests just aren't specific enough yet. And so a lot of them are testing for cannabinoids, and CBD is a cannabinoid, so it will come up positive. There are more specific tests. Gas chromatography is one, and that tests for specific cannabinoids. But even with that, some people metabolize THC slower, and so it can show up on a drug test. So what we recommend when people ask this question, we provide them with a certificate of analysis, and we encourage them to be proactive and talk to their employer or whoever, and be very transparent on the paperwork before doing the drug test, say that they're taking hemp from CBD. But if it's an employer situation, typically we recommend that they go talk to their employer right off the bat before any testing. I would say that probably 5% of our people who buy us have gotten a positive, which is quite a high percentage. But we have never had an employer have an issue. So that's a good thing. What if my patient isn't responding? There's two main reasons for this. One is they may not be taking it regularly. It's really important at the beginning to take it regularly so it stays in your system while it's doing its repair work on the endocannabinoid system. And so you just have a conversation about how often they're taking it. If they're taking enough, have they tried trading up? And then the second reason could be that if they're not taking omega-3s. So encourage people to take omega-3s. They are critical for the endocannabinoid system. They're very important precursors to your body's ability to produce endocannabinoids, and also for the health of the receptor sites. I think we've had maybe one or two people in all this time who just didn't notice any response, and that's a pretty good percentage, I would think. Incidentally, talking about this, I have cut way back on my on prescribing my herbal patents, and the main reason for this is because hemp most people's endocannabinoid systems are damaged, and understanding what hemp is doing and that we need to heal people's endocannabinoid systems and that it helps with so many things. I feel like I'm doing my patients a better service prescribing hemp first. And I think overall it's more cost effective for them. And then if they aren't getting a full response down the line, then we'll add in some herbs. That's just my personal thing. And then the fourth question is, can you take too much? No, it will leave the system like vitamin C. And are there side effects? Claims that there are side effects, if you look closely at those studies, they've given them such incredibly, mostly it's rats, and they've given them such incredibly huge amounts of CBD that it would be, I mean, like, we're talking like many times your body weight in CBD. So it just, look at the studies if people come in with those concerns. And as far as I'm aware, there are not any significant side effects except that it can potentiate the effect of a drug, meaning that it makes it more effective, meaning that you can many times cut down on the drug. Obviously, we recommend that people discuss that with their doctors. Speaking of drugs, we've had patients with their doctor's approval, cut down or go off their antihypertensives, cholesterol. By the way, there been studies done comparing CBD from hemp to, I'm not sure actually, but CBD, comparing them to statins, and CBD's outperformed statin therapy. So going off their cholesterol meds, going off their metformin, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, pain meds, opioids, just many less medications. So this is such a good thing. Okay. And I think we're at Q&A. So hopefully we have a good amount of time for some questions. And let's go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was amazing. And we have a lot of good questions to get through. And then if we don't have time to finish them all, I hope that I can send them to you afterwards and we'll answer them. But I think that we'll be able to get to them all. So one of the more recent things that has been talked about in the chat is about when we talked about it being organic and the importance of the hemp being organic. Would you go into a little bit more about the soil and why it's important?
Well, organic, for soil to be, for anything to be organic, the soil has to have been clean for 7 years. I believe it's 7. So it's a long period of time. So that soil is clean. So the hemp is not pulling toxins out of the soil into the plant. So that's the main reason. If the soil is not organic, or if it's even in the process of becoming organic, you don't know what's in the soil and it's transferred to the plant. The other side of that, though, is if a farm is in the process of becoming organic, as long as they're providing those certificates of analysis, that's what's really important, is you can look at the breakdown there.
Exactly. So they'll show you exactly what pesticides and if there's any pollutants in the product itself and if it's acceptable levels.
Right.
So we actually had somebody ask, she wanted to clarify, when you were talking about the $300,000 in sales, did you mean in hemp sales, or was that for your total practice included?
That was our total practice. But that was with me cutting down to part-time. So
still very, very impressive.
I think so.
Next question was, she wanted to know if you would give hemp to a pregnant woman, and then also on the other side, how about to a male who's trying to conceive?
The second one, yes, absolutely. The first one, the whole thing with pregnancy. So I tell people, my wife just had a baby, just 9 months ago. She took high doses of hemp all through pregnancy. She's still nursing, still takes hemp. We've used hemp on our baby. And I never hesitated once about that. What I tell patients is that I can't recommend it because of no practitioner ever recommends anything for a pregnant woman because of lawsuits. But what I tell patients is, as far as I'm aware, there's one study that's been done, a long-term study on on marijuana in pregnant women, and they followed that group of kids for 9 years, And the only difference that they found between that group and the control group was that the marijuana group was better socially adjusted. So that's a pretty good. So that's what I tell people, and then I tell them the wife took her whole pregnancy, but I can't recommend.
All right, I think that's very good advice. The next question.
Also, actually, sorry, Jeffrey, I had a patient. I also have a patient right now who's trying to increase her milk production, and Hemp is helping considerably with that. So,
oh, wow.
But I gave her the same spiel.
Yeah. Don't recommend it, but you can do it. Let's see. Next one is all of the CBD products I see say third-party testing, chromatography testing, etc. How can I get third-party testing on a salve that I make myself and add CBD to, and then, or just use the certificate from the raw CBD, or do I get my salve with CBD third-party tested?
Oh, those are good questions. I would say that transparency is the best, and you could start with using the COAs from the CBD that you use to make the product. As far as getting them your own product tested, I have no idea, but I can find out. So if you want to email Jeffrey, I can find that answer for you.
All right. Well, I will put my email address in the slides, and I can connect you with Claire, and then we try to find this answer for you. But there are definitely companies out there. From what I understand, it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
So, you know, Yvonne, we'll try to get you that answer. But email me, bloom@lasaoms.com. There was some talk during the webinar about CB1 and CB2 receptors. Oh, I think that actually got taken on. So we'll go to the next one, which was about dosing. So Jennifer says, I read often that you have to start very slowly, but I'm used to using full spectrum, but I'm concerned by how high the doses are. So, for example, 75 milligrams for Lyme patients. Everything she's read starts with gradual dosing. And what are your experiences?
So again, when we're talking about dosing, it really depends on what's the company, and because the milligram content really doesn't mean much. So those doses are specific to functional rates, and even with those, I find them high. So I just think the best thing to do is always just start with the recommended serving size and use that as a guideline that, yes, if you have cancer, you're gonna end up wanting to take more, and that's actually for the cancer cells themselves. That's not for symptoms. So I do, for cancer specifically, I tend to really push the high doses, but for other people, I just let their symptoms lead. And I, in acupuncture too, that does not mean you're treating the symptoms, but the symptoms are a portal to what's going on, and so they just give you feedback. So I agree. Start low and go high if they need to, but let the patient, work with the patient on that and go up incrementally.
All right. Next question. Jennifer, she said she was getting a little confused about full spectrum. It was her understanding that full spectrum has THC of 0.3% and under. Is she mistaken?
You're not mistaken, but a couple things are confused there. So full spectrum is just when a CBD company says that you basically get everything plant. At least that's what I think it implies. But a lot of companies call their CBD full spectrum, and I don't think it is. To me, a truly full spectrum CBD is an infused CBD. You can't have CBD from hemp legally if it has more than 0.3 per THC. So it has nothing to do with full spectrum or not full spectrum. If they're selling hemp oil legally, it has less than 0.3% THC. So that's the 0.3% part. It doesn't really have to do with full spectrum.
Yeah, I think she was just a little confused when you were talking about how, for example, functional remedies is full spectrum, with the infusions, and, a bunch of other companies, everyone says, full spectrum for the most part.
They all do. They all do, and I think it's a useless term. I really do, kind of like the milligrams. And so that's why it's important to educate yourself on the differences in extraction methods. Educate yourself, really understand what the differences are. And the full spectrum is just it's a marketing thing. I don't think it means anything.
Hopefully it will in the future. And
yeah, I hope so.
And,
yeah.
Cynthia would like to know, is there a seminar presentation, PowerPoint, or a thorough brochure that can be used to educate patients? She's a skilled seminar leader, coach, and presenter, but she's new to hemp in her practice.
Yeah, and actually Functional Remedies has a wonderful brochure. It's called Know the Facts. And do you have those, Jeffrey?
I actually believe we do, and if we don't, I know Christy and or Lisa will send them to us.
It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal brochure. Functional Remedies, their marketing department, it's very impressive. So that's my favorite brochure. It actually opens up and has a whole picture of the endocannabinoid system on the other side. It explains the difference between CBD and hemp in general and a lot of that. And then there's two major websites that I refer people to. One is theroc.us, THEROC.us, and the other is just CBD.org. And those are both very, very good, high quality websites for general.
The ROC one, that's the Realm of Caring, correct?
Realm of Caring, yeah.
It is a really good website.
Yeah.
And lots of stories. Have your tissues by you if you're going to start reading those success stories.
Yeah.
Next question is, Betsy would like to know, she wanted to clarify when you had said leaves the human body like vitamin C, is hemp oil CBD water soluble? If not, then it's not like vitamin C.
No, absolutely, it's not like vitamin C. But I wasn't meaning that. What I meant was that your body will just not use it if you're taking too much. So, thanks for clarifying that.
Yes, well, thanks for clarifying. Next one, Marnie, she asked about if there's a contraindication for pregnancy, but we talked about that. Everything's contraindicated.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry, we have a lot of questions coming in. This is great.
Good.
Thank you, everybody. Please tell us more about how to take omega-3s with the hemp oil.
Well, just your recommended daily dose of omega-3s. And it's a great way to just be sure that your patients are taking what their body needs anyway. So most of them, you hope they're already taking them, but it's a good chance. Just remember that one because it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget, and it can make a significant difference in their results.
So now that we've talked about pregnancy, the next question is, what about hemp for children and babies?
Great. Just lower. So we have, we have a lot of autistic kids who take hemp with incredible stories. I have to tell you one. So one of our first stories was a gal, she had a 13-year-old and he had never spoken, started giving him hemp and his behavior started changing straight away. He was autistic. And 4 months later, he said, "Mama." So can't beat that. But anyway, with babies, we usually recommend topical. So topical on the belly button is a nice way to do it, or you could do it on the soles of their feet. It's very clean. But you can also just do a drop or two in their mouth. I mean, where a full dropper is a serving size for an adult, just do a drop or two for a baby, and it has an immediate calming effect, and it's great for pain. I've heard people use it for colic. Hopefully you've educated your patients and their babies don't have colic anyway, but yeah, baby's great. And what was the other question? Children, just lower doses.
So like if you had a milligram dose, what would you say? Like what would you do?
For a baby? For a baby
and a kid, like a kid, say like 5 years old.
Well, it kind of depends more on body size. So I kind of go with that. Just, like if, I don't know, someone who's maybe 3 feet tall and, of normal build, give them maybe a third of an adult dose. But again, you're not gonna do a lot of harm. You're not gonna knock them out or anything. So just start slow. Same thing with animals. Just start slow. Give it to your pets. It's great. It's great for them.
I've given it to my friend's dog who was extremely anxious and she had arthritis, and I mean she hadn't eaten in like 2 days and she ate an entire bowl of food and felt so good. And it was just maybe 2.5 milligrams, so not much.
Yeah. And for a baby, really, I would just do a drop or two. We've given it to our baby, but usually we've done it topically, and it's fine. So if you put a little topical on the belly button area, it will get absorbed. So you don't have to do it orally.
Next one. First, Jennifer wanted to congratulate you on your new baby. And then she also wanted to know, to clarify, when you were talking about the money in sales, do you have an idea of roughly what the revenue is in just retail hemp sales?
Yes, it's probably 30% of our income.
So probably about 90.
Which is really nice when you have to go on vacation.
Yeah. I don't.
Yes, you don't have to worry as much.
Next question is, what would you typically charge for a hemp oil consultation if they walk in and they don't want acupuncture?
I don't charge ever. And no one buys hemp without getting a consultation. And so sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20.
Do they sit down with you, or have you also educated your support staff?
I've educated my support staff, and if it becomes complex, they'll call me. And this fits into a day, and people know they might have to wait a little bit. And I don't typically we talk out in the front where the hemp is. I don't bring them to the back. I don't use clinic rooms for it. So I feel really I feel like this is an important service, and I don't want to charge people for it. I thought about charging, but I don't want to do it.
The repeat business is your payback, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Plus, it builds trust. It builds trust when you really, really help someone you haven't asked for anything.
That makes total sense to me. Let's see. Cynthia wanted to know, does the patient need to take the omega-3 at the exact same time they take the hemp, or is it just, taking a daily dose?
They just need to be taking it, yeah. Because it's important for your. So what the omega-3s are doing, they're helping your body. It's an important precursor for your body's ability to produce its own endocannabinoids. And so as the hemp is helping repair the system, that's one of the things it's also helping do. And so if you're not giving your body what it needs for that to happen, then it's not going to happen, or it's going to be limited.
Thank you. And the next question, do you think hemp can help a recent stroke patient 2 to 3 months and longer post-stroke or brain injuries?
Yes, I would definitely. Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of study being done, a lot of ex-NFL players now taking it for TBIs that from years and years and years ago and having phenomenal results. So definitely, yes. And think about acupuncture too. Acupuncture can help stroke victims years later. It might not be dramatic, but just think about, things that acupuncture is good for. That's how it's kind of in the same box.
Would you recommend hemp oil for an elderly patient with chronic kidney disease?
Yes, but anyone with chronic diseases like that in the elderly, I always want their doctor involved. So you just want to, it's just use common sense with your patient population. But yes, I definitely would. There's been a lot of studies on CBD and CKD.
Thank you. We have a few more questions left, and then we can let you go because I know it's getting a little late for you. Jennifer wanted you to repeat the website. So I know that you had mentioned for good reference. I know one of them was the Realm of Caring, which I put in there.
And the other is cbd.org.
Oh, c.org. All right. All right. I just put those in the questions tab so you can have links to those two sites.
Great.
And then since when you say you thoroughly educate your patients, how long do you take for that, which you just told us? It could be anywhere from 5 to 20 maybe longer?
Yep. Yeah, hopefully not.
And let's see. How do you sell CBD to the public as we are practitioners? Do you have a CBD consultation exam prior to purchase? If so, what's a reasonable fee to suggest? We've already covered that. Sorry, I didn't read that one before. So Yvonne, Claire doesn't charge for her CBD consultations. Every practitioner is different, so what works for her may not work for you. So maybe you do charge for that, but she personally does not.
Incidentally, on that point, and this may also be what they're asking, different states have different requirements for if you can sell product in your clinic. And so in Mississippi, you just have to have some kind of signage saying that you're under no pressure to buy from us and blah, blah, blah. So we have that.
All right. Let's see. Cynthia would like to know if a stroke patient is on a feeding tube, would you apply it topically?
I would apply it in the tube.
All right. And then, so this one actually might be more of a question for me. So Jennifer's saying how you speak highly of functional remedies. Do you know if they offer bulk discounts, wholesale, and if this is offered through L.A.C. OMS? I will take this one because functional remedies is offered through L.A.C. OMS. And practitioners get a 50% discount off of the retail price. So for example, if you retail price of $59.99, that means your price is going to be about $30. So that allows the practitioner to make 100% on each of the products. And right now we have a 500 milligram tincture, a 1,000 milligram tincture, 25 and 50 milligram capsules, and then one of the most amazing smelling topicals I've ever smelled in my life. And all those can be
incredible topical.
What was that?
It's an incredible topical.
Oh, I kind of want to eat it sometimes.
Oh, right. It's awesome.
Sorry, I went on a little tangent there, but as you can tell, I do love their products as well. And then looks like next one, I only sell products to patients and wonder how to extend to more people in the public without going too far.
You could host an evening, an educational evening, and we found a lot of that really, really helps. So, talk to your patients and have them invite someone, or you could do it online, or, there's different ways you could do that. That's the best way to do it. Get your patients involved.
Oh, that's really great advice, actually.
Yeah. A little CBD party. But people love those evenings. So, that's the best way to do it.
Let's see. So that is it for the questions. I'm just kind of dancing through the chats to see if there's anything I missed while I was going through the questions tab. Oh, this one I didn't get to. In terms of dosing, how often do you check in to see if the symptoms are improving or not to increase dosage? And how much would you increase if it wasn't helping?
So how much do I check in? Well, if it's a patient, every time they come in. If it's a customer, I don't, except what I do is recommend that they wait a few days and then increase. Now, you can have them do it per dose. I've done that. At the beginning, we told people, take it, wait an hour, see how you feel. If it's taking your pain away, that's great. If it hasn't, then the next time you take it, take a little bit more. So you can do it that way, absolutely. I just find it easier now just to tell people, wait a few days and see, because people like to hear wait a few days. I don't know why, maybe it's a money thing. And then just have them increase slowly. So the people who really want capsules, that's fine, but they're not going to be able to really play around a lot with their dose without, it's going to be pretty costly for them because you can only double a capsule. But so I'll usually tell people, start with a full dropper under the tongue twice a day, and then, wait a few days and then go up to 1.5 droppers if you feel like you need to, or just kind of play around with it. Don't be nervous to play around. Conservative at the beginning so that, you'll get, it won't take long. You'll be comfortable.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I just can't thank you enough, Claire. This was extremely informative. Everyone enjoyed themselves. I enjoyed myself too.
Thank you. I did too.
So for everybody here, we will share the recording on our blog. It'll probably be up in about a week or so. So feel free to check our blog, which is blog.lasaoms.com. We don't have any unanswered questions, so we are good to go there. Our next webinar is going to be September 4th, and it will be treatment of the sacroiliac joint featuring Whitfield Reeves. So please join us then. Registration's already up on our blog, so visit our blog for that. Visit our blog for everything acupuncture. Also check your email after this webinar concludes in about 5 minutes. You will get a great promo code for discounts on functional remedies products. And I hope, Claire, you have a wonderful night. Thank you again for all your time and great information. And to all of you, have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks all of you.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye-bye.